Kakadosh Boker or Beki'im Halakha 6. Siman Kuf Samech Zayin 167, day 98, page 232. We're on Halakha Lamed Hey 35. Okay? If you remember, we were talking about the tziruf of everybody, one person making a bracha for everybody. So yesterday we did bring down that really be'emet, the mitzvah is that because of Verova Madra Melech, one person should make the bracha for everybody. Yeah, that's the mitzvah. So tomeret ze achi tov. However, though, there was already the minhag that nowadays a lot of people are not makpidim, and therefore everyone does it on their own, right? Fine. He comes and he says, "What's the halakha now in this case, where basically, right, they're riding horses together? Yeah, so imagine they're all riding animals. Even though each one is eating from his own bread, right? And they're not going to get down from their animals, they're still going to be mitzarfim, and therefore one person can make the bracha. Yishul everybody. However, though, you need two conditions. What are going to be the conditions? Condition number one: it means that they come and they say, we're going to eat now. So they're going to stop and we're going to eat. Okay? But if they're just traveling, it doesn't help. Right? Even though they said we're going to eat now. Why? Because the halakha is mevatel the kviyut. Meaning walking is mevatel any type of kviyut. Sometimes they do this, by the way, you should know. Somebody finishes netilat yadayim, and then they're walking towards the table. And they tell you, no, like, start hamotzi. No. You start hamotzi when they're sitting down. Because if they're walking, right, they are not, this is what we just said right here, right? There has to be that you're fixed, right? Not just stam thing. So now you're right. Over there is a little bit yuter garua because there you're riding on animals and things like that. But they're also not at the table. You remember we spoke about that. It should be at the same table, right? Which means driving. There's no problem. You could do whatever you want. We're talking about that you're being yotzi the chuva other people. Right? That's halakha. We're not talking about that you're making your own bracha. You're making your own bracha. You could be on the moon. You're going to make your own bracha. Right? It doesn't matter where you are, right? Or how you're going. You understand? Here we're talking about though you want to be yotzi the chuva as somebody else. So if you're in your car and somebody else is outside over there sitting down on a bench, it's not. What did you say? The guy bless the condition. Second condition, shiukulam b'makom echad. Everybody's in one place. Aval im hayu ochlim basadeh mefuzarim ufuradim. If they're just stam in the sadeh all over the place, lo mahani. It doesn't help even if they're going to say nochal kan. Tebainan shiyu b'makom echad because they have to be in one place. Okay, very important. It has to be in one place. See one place in the sadeh. No, that's what he's saying. He's saying, בגלל, עוד פעם, הוא אומר לך, מפוזרים מפורדים, אז what's the one place? Yeah? צריך להיות במקום אחד. No, זה מה שאומר. You have to be all together. They cannot be one here, one over there, one over there. No. זה לא עוזר. Yeah? They have to be all together. Okay? Halakha lamed vav. Okay. All together. Exactly, all together. שלא ייפקה מושבו. Yeah, he comes and he says the following. Was they took the champion? Yes. By the way, look at the in conclusion on the bottom of the page. Look in the in conclusion on the bottom of page 233. There he was speaking about, you remember we spoke, this is a conclusion of what we spoke about yesterday. When eating bread or drinking wine, if everyone is seated on one table, it is best that one person says the bracha for everybody. When eating other foods, meaning not bread and wine, right, or beverages, Shulchan Aruch still says, Selamim Shos. The halakha is the same. Okay, but the custom is that each person can choose to say the bracha if he wishes. So, to minute, אם הוא רוצה לברך לעצמו, מותר לו. That's a custom. Even though according to Shulchan Aruch, it's the same halakha, meaning the bracha of hamotzi, the bracha of mezonot, the bracha of shakol, the bracha of gefen, everything's the same. One bracha for everybody. And he says when the act of eating a mitzvah is, for example, a karpas, so it's one person doing the mitzvah, right? That means it's all mitzvah. It's preferable that one person says a bracha on behalf of everybody. But according to the Ramah, whenever you're eating other foods other than bread, whether or not it's a mitzvah or not, each person has to say the bracha by himself. That means that comes from the Ramah, right? That everyone does their own bracha. Because really, be'emet, especially if you're doing, that's why I told you that the Chazon Ovadia brings down that on the karpas of the night of the Seder, right? It's better that one person does it for everybody. Because again, it's a mitzvah. Okay? Fine. Halakha number 36. What about in a vehicle? So the doctor spoke about what happens if he's in the car. So if a person, right? Ayu yoshvim ba'agala. Yeah, in the olden days, right? It was an agala, it was a chariot, right? I remember the Volbe, right? He used to call the chauffeur, right, of his car, he used to call him the balagala, right? The balagala. Yeah. So it actually once happened to Rav Chassid. He was the chief rabbi of Gibraltar. So what happened was that he was at the airport and he gave a lift to another Chassid, right? So the rabbi, the chief rabbi of Gibraltar, comes, he gives a ride to somebody. So they start speaking, and in Mamash, they're speaking in Shas and back and forth and this and that. So all of a sudden he comes and he says, wow, I feel like I'm in Vilna, right? That a regular balagala, a regular wagon driver was Baki in Shas. Yeah, like Mamash, so he went and he said, Gibraltar is better than Vilna because the rabbi is the balagala. The rabbi is the wagon driver, so it's even better than Vilna. Vilna, the wagon driver was a Baki Shas. He was like that. It was just there. It's very interesting. So he comes and he says like this. He says, if a group of people are sitting in an old-fashioned uncovered wagon and they wish to eat while traveling, so it's the best that each person says the bracha for himself. Okay, so therefore, adif yoter shekol echad yivarech le'atzmo. Each one makes a bracha to himself. What about in an automobile, in a car, or in an autobus, or b'rakevet, or in a train? Right, or you're on a plane, or right, b'sfina, you're on a cruise, right, b'shat haflaga. And they said we're gonna eat together. Here, even lechatchila mitzarfim yachad ve'echad mevarech lekulam. One person is gonna make the bracha for everybody. Yeah, no. Let's see, 193. In the previous halakha, 1 second. In the previous halakha, it was explained that it's not possible for a group of horse riders to be considered a united group while they're moving. So you remember we said by the horses, if they're on the go, that was the number one, condition number one. Shi'amdu bimkom echad. Right? Why? Because if they're eating and going, it doesn't help. Even though they say, right, that they're going to eat together. Why? Because halakha is mevatel the kriyut. Here it says, even though in the previous halakha we just said that halakha, the walking, is going to be mevatel the kriyut, which means the fact that they're traveling, it's going to be a problem. He says, although they are seated on their mounts, it is as if they're walking if the horses continue walking. One would think, so the same thing, if you're going to be in a wagon, it's also considered the same thing. Magen Avraham wrote, though, he was unsure of this halakha in this case, since it could be that they're still considered united a group, since they're seated together in the wagon. Meaning, by the horse, each one separately seated on a horse. By the wagon, they're all in the same wagon. So indeed, the Kaf HaChaim Sofer ruled that in this case, one person could make the bracha for the entire group. And after they eat, they may form a zimun and bikat hamazon. Nevertheless, he concluded that it's best that each one says the bracha, since there's certainly nothing wrong, right, with doing that. And if one person says hamotzi for everybody, right, and they listen with the proper intention, for sure they fulfilled their obligation. Now he said, okay, fine, but this is going to be to do with the first case of the wagon. What about now the car, bus, train, plane, ship? So he comes and he says, even though the Magen Avraham wrote that he was unsure of the halakha to do with the wagon, he wrote that if the group is sitting in a moving boat, there's no question that one person could do it on behalf of the entire group. This is based upon the Gemara Metzia. The Gemara Metzia says a boat is never considered a moving object because the water moves the boat and the boat is carried along. Yeah, I don't know if you could say that nowadays, but okay, fine. Yeah, so he comes and he says the Uktzi'a took an issue with this ruling, and he decided that whether the group is seated in a wagon or in a ship, it depends how smooth and comfortable the ride is. If it's comfortable for the passengers that are able to concentrate, do the bracha, So then there's no problem. If it's a rough ride and the people have nowhere where to hold on to their seats while listening to the bracha, each one should make the bracha on their own. In a modern day cruise ship, there's very little question that one person can make the bracha on behalf of everybody, obviously. You're not holding on for your life. Right? The Halakha Berura states that according to the Magen Avraham, the halakha regarding a group sitting in a moving automobile, bus, or train is the same indecision as halakha regarding group seating in a wagon. But according to the Uktzi'a, however, a group seating in any modern type of vehicle, there's no problem. In practice, though, the halakha agreed with this opinion. After all, the Uktzi'a was for sure, right? He was sure of his ruling, and the Magen Avraham was doubtful of his ruling. So first of all, one was a safek and one was a vadai, meaning that Magen Avraham was not sure. And he says, I don't know. I don't think so. The Uktzi'a was 100%, he was for sure. Furthermore, the Magen Avraham agreed that if someone did say the bracha on behalf of everybody, even on a wagon, then you'd say the chuvah. So therefore, even according to the Magen Avraham, if somebody already did it, it's okay. So you could rely upon the Uktzi'a. The Letzion wrote that travelers in a plane are equal to travelers in a boat, just as a boat, right, passengers are not considered moving, so too the passengers of a plane are not considered to be moving. It's the air that moves. I don't know. It sounds very interesting. I'm sure the doctor is going to start asking me 100 questions. The air that moves, it's not the plane. The plane is not moving. It's the air that's moving, right? So therefore, even the Magen Avraham would agree that when seated on a plane, one person could come and make a bracha for everybody else.